This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Al-Shabaab claims responsibility for Saturday's truck bombing attack in the capital, Mogadishu. And Umaru Sissoco Embalo claims he's on the verge of Guinea-Bissau election victory. Hello and welcome to CGTN. This is Africa Live and I'm Karen Roberts in Nairobi. Also coming up in the programme, the Arab League to hold an emergency meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in war-torn Libya. And in sport, South Africa claims a dominant 107 runs victory over England in the first of 4 tests at Centurion. We begin in Somalia, where militant group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for Saturday's truck bombing in the capital, Mogadishu. The official spokesperson for the group, Ali Mohamed Rage, also known as Ali Dare, made the statement via the group's official station, Radio Andalus. Dare says the group's target was a Turkish convoy and security forces at Mogadishu's busy junction. At least 81 people were killed and 78 others were wounded in the attack. Early on Monday, Somalia's National Intelligence Agency submitted their initial report on the bombing. The NISA accused an unidentified foreign country of planning the deadly attack. Here is some of the audio from the Al-Shabaab statement.
On Saturday, our Mujahideen conducted an attack in ex-control junction Afgoye in Mogadishu, where they targeted the enemy convoy including Turkish nationals and the apostate militants escorting them. The attack hit its target, inflicting heavy damage on the enemy, causing death and injuries. The attack also caused the loss of life and property to Muslims who were caught up in the area during the attack. We are very sorry about the loss of life and damage to the properties. We send our condolences to the families who lost their loved ones and wish a quick recoveries for those wounded.
In Guinea-Bissau, presidential candidate Domingos Simios Pereira has urged the nation to await official results after his opponent, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, claimed he was on course for victory. Both candidates are former prime ministers of the West African nation. They competed in Sunday's runoff to replace incumbent president José Mario Vaz. Vaz's 5-year term was marred by regular political sackings, a poorly functioning parliament and corruption. Official results are expected on the 1st of January. Citizens hope the next president will restore calm to the West African nation.
Our candidate, we voted for him in huge numbers and even the blind can see that. We have spent 40 years with the PAIGC. Our parents have supported the PAIGC. And despite all that, misery continues in the country. The economic crisis continues, and that is the reason we opted for political alternative and for change.
If Domingos loses the elections and we refuse to accept the results, it could create problems for Guinea-Bissau. We don't want problems in this country. If Domingos wins, Umaru Embalo must accept the results.
A Sudanese court has sentenced 27 members of the National Intelligence Service to death by hanging. The group is accused of killing a teacher in detention in February during protests that led to the overthrow of former President Omar al-Bashir. This is the first time that Sudanese courts have handed down convictions over crackdowns on demonstrations in the months before and after the toppling of Bashir in April. The teacher, Ahmed al-Hair, was killed in the eastern town of Hashma al-Kirba. The town was a rallying point during the 16 weeks of protests against Bashir's rule. According to Hair's family, security officials initially claimed he had died of poisoning, but a state investigation later found he succumbed to injuries from a beating. Now to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the renewal of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the country has been met with mixed reactions. This is despite the recommendation of the UN Strategic Review Committee of a phased-out exit from the DRC starting today. CGTN's Chris Ochemringa reports now from Kinshasa.
The mandate of the UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC, known by its French acronym MONUSCO, has been extended to December 20th next year. The UN Security Council unanimously voted to renew its mandate in New York. The resolution, drafted by France, will see the 16,000-strong force continue protecting civilians and supporting the stabilization of DRC's state institutions. This political analyst in Kinshasa welcomed the decision.
I support the extension, but it should be strengthened to deal with armed groups.
But some Congolese from the east of the country are disappointed about the development.
The international community is spending money on initiatives that don't bring any yield. And the MONUSCO case is an example. We have had several UN missions all over the world, and if you were to go one by one, in many cases, it has been failure.
Last month, residents in the eastern town of Beni staged anti-UN protests following an increase in the killing of civilians by rebels. They accused UN peacekeepers of failing to protect them. The UN is now carrying out joint military operations with the Congolese army to wipe out the armed groups. The mission has brought in Brazilian troops to train Congolese forces.
As you know, Brazil and has a lot of equatorial forests also, so they are good with these techniques, and we believe that this is something that could help the FARDC in gaining new skills.
The UN peacekeeping mission began in 1999 after a conflict known as the Second Congo War broke out in eastern DRC. Many Congolese in eastern DRC have been calling for the withdrawal of UN peacekeepers from their area. But the DRC president believes the Blue Helmets still have an important role to play in pacifying the eastern part of his country. The locals in the conflict-prone area only hope that the Security Council's recommendation for the creation of an exit strategy is enforced soon. Chris Sochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Well, attacks on Congolese civilians by armed groups, allegedly from the Allied Democratic Forces, continue in the eastern region of Beni. At least 23 people have been killed in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after an overnight raid on Apatina Sana on Sunday. While the ADF rebels are said to have originated from Uganda, its soldiers have been attacking and killing people in eastern DRC for more than 20 years. In late October, the DRC army launched an offensive against the ADF fighters. This has, however, led to the displacement of many families and, of course, killings of over 200 people as the ADF fighters retaliate. Turkey says it has detained dozens of people suspected of ties to the ISIL terror group. State media reports that the arrests were made in nationwide raids on Monday, where counter-terror forces also seized weapons, ammunition and documents. Police say 4 foreign nationals are among those detained, including people from Iraq, Syria, Turkey and Morocco. The arrests come 2 months after the leader of the ISIL terrorist group was killed in an operation by US Special Forces in Syria. Well, we are going to a short break now. Don't go away, lots more to come, including Arab League holds an emergency meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in war-torn Libya. And in Kenya, swarms of desert locusts have descended on the northern counties of Wajir and Mandera.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself. If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Kofi Annan was always balanced, soft-spoken, but quite steely and standing for what he believed to be right.
Nobody is a self-made person. It's the family that makes somebody.
This house was so full of children. We were stepping on each other's toes when we were young.
When we met, I was interested. I was Nan and he was Kofi, and we were together, Kofi and Nan.
I, Kofi Annan. I, Kofi Annan.
And in so doing, the man was now at the helm of the diplomatic world.
Economic data out of the country. The country's foreign currency reserves.
With a dedicated and diverse team of anchors, CGTN now brings Africa to the palm of your hand.
I'm Perina Karibe in the heart of Nairobi, which is bustling.
From everyday heroes to the continent's most powerful figures, we bring their voices to you.
We haven't changed. And this is something most of us are very excited about.
We bring you news that's changing perspectives. News that brings Africa to the world. CGTN. See the difference.
Nigeria is my home. 160 million vibrant, ambitious individuals constantly seeking the perfect self-expression. It is these people who inspired me to be that person that is seen, to be a voice that is heard, and ultimately to be the anchor that I am. I have to tap in, tune in, and turn on the very best qualities within me to deliver the news. I'm Richard Nta, an anchor for CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Let's now revisit our story about the elections, the presidential elections in Guinea-Bissau. And we have Deji Badmus, CGTN's Deji Badmus, who is with us from Lagos in Nigeria. Deji, tell us the latest on the opposition claims of the victory in Guinea-Bissau.
Well, Karen, it's a surprise of some sort that the opposition, that's the former Prime Minister Embalo, who is also Umaru Sissoko Embalo now, who is a candidate in the election, is claiming victory. But there's been no official confirmation yet. Official results are not expected until tomorrow, the 1st of January. So but Mr. Embalo is insisting that he's actually won the election, that his claim now is based on the results compiled by his observers, because not normally, I mean, political parties would have their agents and observers at various regions and polling stations now. So he's claiming that on the basis of the results now compiled by his observers and, of course, his agents, that he's ahead and he's on course to winning the election. He also claimed that Mr. Domingos Pereira has actually called him to congratulate him. Of course, Mr. Pereira has denied that and has said there's a lot of fake news being circulated, that people should just remain calm and wait for the official results to be announced. So I think by tomorrow everything will become clearer. We would clearly know who has actually won this runoff and who is going to be the next president of Guinea-Bissau. And
Deji, you're talking about his observers. What about the foreign observers such as ECOWAS, African Union and the United Nations? How have they responded to these claims?
Well, at the moment, they've not responded. They've not said anything much. Basically, everybody is suing for camp. You wouldn't expect the ECOWAS observers or foreign observers now to react until official results have been released. I think as soon as those official results now are released, we're going to get reactions now from ECOWAS and other foreign international observers, if you like, who are actually on the ground. So, but for now, no one is actually saying anything. People are just waiting for the official results to be announced. And definitely we're going to have preliminary results now announced tomorrow, and everything will become clearer. Thereafter, no doubt at all that foreign observers, even domestic observers too, who had observed the election, will begin to turn in their reports.
Okay, so we should know the result tomorrow. Thank you very much. That was CGTN's Deji Badmus there on the Guinea-Bissau presidential elections being held there. Moving on to other news now, the Arab League is holding an emergency meeting to discuss the situation in war-torn Libya. In a statement, the organisation said that Egypt had called for the meeting after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared that his country would send troops to Libya at the request of the UN-backed Libyan government as soon as next month. Libya has been locked in a civil war, splitting power between two rival governments, the UN-backed government of National Accord based in the capital, Tripoli, and another in the northeastern city of Tobruk, which is allied with the self-proclaimed Libyan National Army that's led by Khalifa Haftar. Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, France and Russia support Haftar's LNA, while the GNA is backed by Turkey and Qatar, as well as Italy. In Kenya, swarms of desert locusts have descended on the northern counties of Wajir and Mandera. The crop-devouring insects are threatening to wipe out vast swathes of grassland, which pastoralists rely on to feed their livestock. Residents say the swarms entered Kenya on Sunday from across the border in Somalia, which was hit by an infestation earlier this month, along with Ethiopia. Farmers in parts of Ethiopia reported that locusts had decimated nearly 100% of their crops. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that the invasion could spread further if not brought under control. Other African countries at risk include Djibouti, Eritrea, and South Sudan. People across the world are bidding farewell to the year 2019 and are ushering in the new year with celebrations, of course. And with the year now winding down, many across the continent are expecting good fortune in the new year. Let's now take a listen.
I think it will be a prosperous and peaceful year. People have a lot of expectations and they will be able to achieve their expectations as long as they work hard.
I hope 2020 is better in terms of the money I bring into my household. I hope that politics get cleaner in this country, and I hope there's peace.
I'm expecting a lot of good things, a growing economy, peaceful country.
I hope your society stay peace and the economy keep growth. Yes, that's my wish, because I'm from China. I'm here to, I'm here to work.
I look forward to great opportunities, so I know it's going to be a great year.
The government needs to do more. They need to create more jobs so that the youth out there will be employed. They won't have any issues, looking for where to steal from or engage in different dubious activities. So basically, those are the things I think the government can really do for a better 2020.
But I pray for Nigeria government for 2020, the way things work or the way things be in 2019 to know happen in 2020. Because youth, as a youth, we are the heart of the country. We are suffer because of job. We are looking for a job. Before you got it, you will pay something before you will recruit in every organization in the country, which is so bad.
I hope next year I'll pass my exams and graduate. It is an important year for me. For 2020, I hope our country will develop and improve. The same with the continent. Egypt and the countries around us should focus on development and improve living conditions of its people.
I wish next year peace would prevail and that we will live together in harmony regardless of nationality, color, or race. This year was full of conflicts. I expect 2020 to be better for humanity.
Tunisia has been tightening national security, especially at its border with Libya. Military and security forces have been deployed at crossing points to prevent the Libyan conflict from spilling over into the North African country. CGTN's Adnan Shoashi has this report.
The Defense Ministry announced that the various armed forces units stationed along the borders between Tunisia and Libya are ready and vigilant to prevent any possible intrusion during the ongoing fighting in Libya. Libyan analysts assert that the situation is very dangerous.
The situation is alarming and explosive in Libya, but we still believe as Libyans that dialogue is possible. The escalation of the armed conflict will have negative repercussions on the whole region.
The parliament has approved the deployment of armed units and national guards on border regions with Libya. However, many MPs maintain that Tunisia's position is still unclear following the visit of the Turkish president.
We reject any form of support to Turkey in its military intervention plan in Libya. The Turkish president came to Tunisia with his defense minister and the head of the intelligence agency. He came to convince the president to join the coalition. The solution in Libya must be by Libyans.
A 12-member Libyan family illegally crossed the borders during the weekend to flee the armed conflict in the capital, Tripoli.
We cannot remain neutral while Libyans are struggling with fate. Our role is to encourage peace initiatives, but if dialogue fails, we must welcome Libyans who will either choose or be forced to live in Tunisia.
The government announced that regional authorities are prepared to all scenarios, including the influx of Libyan citizens towards Tunisia. In 2011, Tunisia welcomed more than 1.5 million Libyans who fled the war in their country. Tens of thousands of Libyans are now residing in the cities of Sfax, Sousse, Tataouine, Ben Guerden and Tunis. The customs services assert that the flow of Libyans is normal for the moment. However, it could increase in the next few days. Adnan Shoashi, CGTN, Tunis.
In 2016, a robotics firm operating unmanned aerial vehicles or drones started a service to deliver medical supplies, including blood, to hard-to-reach health clinics around Rwanda. Zipline has since grown and expanded, setting new targets to supply more destinations while saving lives. CGTN's Wilkista Nyabwa filed this report from Rwanda.
The technician gives the all clear and the drone shoots into the clouds. A speck in the sky on an important mission. In just minutes, the blinking light will announce the drone's arrival at the Kapgai hospital, and a package attached to a mini parachute will float to the pavement. The blood that the hospital was waiting for will have arrived, and the drone's mission will be complete. This is what passes for a normal day for a Zipline distribution center in Rwanda. Zipline is an American startup company which partnered with the Rwandan government to launch the world's first commercial drone delivery service, ferrying vital medical supplies to far-flung hospitals by air. The medicines come from Rwanda's Ministry of Health, the blood from the National Blood Transfusion Center in the capital, Kigali. The idea to use drones came up as a means to address the logistics problems around blood delivery in Rwanda.
Before, with the issue that we had, a lot of hospitals used to overstock themselves to make sure that they don't run out of those products.
Kapgai Hospital, for example, is about an hour's drive from Kigali.
It means that we ask the car to the hospital, and the hospital give a car, and we take one lab technician to go to Kigali to get blood. Here to Kigali, it's 1 hour, it's 2 hours to go and to come back.
Now vehicles regularly ferry the supplies to the 2 Zipline distribution centers, so that when the message comes in, technicians quickly load a drone and dispatch supplies.
Life is saved so quickly because when a doctor is in a ward making an operation and he needs blood, have to wait 3 to 4 hours. But now it's 5 minutes only.
One drone can carry about 2 kilograms and serves a radius of about 80 kilometers. The 2 centers carry out about 45 trips daily. Zipline's efforts showcase the humanitarian potential of drones, and now the company plans to spread its wings even further, taking medical supplies to new territories. The service is currently serving 24 hospitals and 20 health facilities in Rwanda, and this year Zipline expanded to Ghana, opening 2 centers. It is also looking to set up in India, and there are several more areas hoping that one day soon little blinking lights in the sky will announce the timely arrival of vital medical supplies. Wilkisanyabo, CGTN, Rwanda.
The government of Malawi has embarked on a countrywide rural connectivity project. It aims to ensure equal access to a mobile phone network. The project, dubbed the Last Mile Rural Connectivity, is being championed in partnership with China's telecommunication giant Huawei. CGTN's Daniel Arapmoy filed this report.
Hello.
Mobile phones in Malawi have become the fastest means of connecting people. In rural parts of the country where transmitters used to be few, the government has scaled up efforts to have them built. The country's unmet needs, which used to create a digital divide that tilts in favor of urban communities where telecommunication network is reliable, is no more. The government has come up with a new program to bridge the country's telecommunication divide.
The Last Mile Connectivity Project is being carried out by the government of Malawi, of course, with a partnership with Huawei of China. This is a very big and strategic project for Malawi. This is meant to connect each and every corner of this country.
The project, which targets rural communities, is already yielding positive results, enabling people in hard-to-reach areas communicate with ease. Rural Malawians are now able to buy airtime, make financial transactions across networks, and contribute to the growth of the country's economy.
So this project is aimed at erecting 136 towers across the country.
The excluded areas, once cut off from vital messages and electronic money transfers, credited with making life easy for mobile phone users, are now able to enjoy the benefits of cutting-edge technology.
Most of the time, network is okay. Actually, some people coming from the local areas and come and withdraw cash, no problem.
Before we got the transmitters, it was terrible to communicate, let alone doing business. Now that the government has come on board, we are doing much better and communication is clear.
Local farmers are expected to find it easier to communicate with prospective buyers of their crop produce than was the case in the past, when there was no network in many rural parts of Malawi. Government has contracted Huawei to implement a program funded by the government of China. Once completed, the Last Mile Rural Connectivity Project is expected to transform lives of the people in covered areas to get reliable telecommunication services.
The Last Mile Rural Connectivity Project will see every Malawian connected to telecommunication network, regardless of where they live or work.
Daniel Arapmoy, CGTN, Malawi.
Now to Australia, and fires across large areas of the country are continuing to rage, with tens of thousands of locals and tourists urged to evacuate in the state of Victoria. Up to 4,000 people are trapped on a beach in the town of Malakuta, which is surrounded by fires. Dark smoke has blanketed the area, and the high temperatures, changing winds and thunderstorms are worsening the conditions there. More than 100 fires are continuing to burn across Australia. The biggest are raging near Sydney. The city was again shrouded in toxic bushfire smoke, and several regional towns. We are going to break now. We've got all the business news coming up for you, including Sudan passes 2020 budget with anticipated deficit of $1.62 billion. And Rwanda's grand vision for future leaves the poor uncompensated.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
There's more to this place than just glorious landscapes. There's more to it than just, say, Table Mountain or glorious, endless salt flats. There's more to it than countries that are home to some of the deepest mines in the world. There is so much more to this place, even if it is home to some of the finest diamonds on the planet. It is the sheer diversity of the people who call Southern Africa home, and the relentless drive to make it a better place that make it so special. And we know that because this too is home. No one knows Southern Africa like we do. CGTN, see the difference.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Accra is my kind of city. That's because when I'm here, I feel like I'm back home in Lagos or Abidjan, which are two of the major cities I grew up in.
Business in Africa is high risk.
After about a decade covering business news on the continent, I've learned it's all about the high risk, but also the high returns and the high energy. You simply have to adjust in order to keep pace. When I started out as a journalist, my dream was to open people's minds to the different perspectives. From the CEO in the boardroom to the trader out in the street, we all have different stories. From Accra to Addis Ababa, from Cairo to Cape Town, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Here at CGTN, we realize that Africa is on the move, and it's moving fast, but we're moving right along with it. I'm Ucheo Koronkwo, and I'm a business anchor and reporter at CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Sudan has passed its 2020 budget. The spending plan includes a fiscal deficit of about $1.62 billion. This is the first budget Sudan's parliament has passed since the toppling of longtime ruler Omar Hassan al-Bashir. The budget has projected tax revenues of $12.63 billion, with higher expenditure on healthcare and education planned. The country's transitional government also floated a proposal to lift subsidies in 2020, but it ultimately decided to postpone the proposal until at least March 2020, when an economic forum will be held. Sudan's economy was hard hit when South Sudan succeeded in 2011. The separation cost it 3/4 of its oil output, which was a crucial source of foreign currency. Multinational mobile phone operator MTN has defended itself against claims that it supported terrorism in Afghanistan between 2009 and 2017. The company, along with other Western businesses, have been accused in a US court for having violated the Anti-Terrorism Act. The complainants allege that MTN and others supported the Taliban by making payments to ensure the protection of their infrastructure. The payments were allegedly as high as 40% of the value of the company's project and were often facilitated through subcontractors. According to the Washington-based Courthouse News Service, there are nearly 400 people who are claiming unspecified damages. Urbanization is proving to be a necessary evil in Rwanda. Slum dwellers in the country's capital, Kigali, are accusing city authorities of razing their homes without paying compensation. This has angered poorer Rwandans who feel marginalized by a government-led push to modernize the capital. CG10's Terry Wangari has the details.
This month, the first of thousands of homes slated for demolition in Kigali's unplanned settlements were bulldozed. City authorities say the homes were built illegally on wetlands or areas deemed at risk from landslides and flooding. Those evicted were being offered lodgings elsewhere. But many of Kigali's poorest no longer feel welcome in a city that has undergone a major facelift.
As you see here, the situation is pretty bad. We demolished several houses without knowing where we will go next. There are people living in the streets while others live in local schools. The authorities came and said that when the rains come, there will be big floods. But those floods, nobody ever saw them.
The facelift is part of President Paul Kagame's master plan to turn Rwanda into a wealthy nation by 2050. The capital has been the focus of a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure blitz in recent years, with futuristic convention centers, five-star hotels, and modern flats altering the skyline. The city has earned a reputation among African capitals for its unusually ordered and clean streets. These slums are disparagingly called Banyahe, a name roughly translated to where I can defecate, and border some of Kigali's most exclusive postcodes. City authorities insist the evictions are for the good of the people, but a lot of the residents here beg to differ.
The inhabitants did not refuse to demolish the houses, but what should be preoccupying the government is first looking for a place for these people to stay.
President Kagame says his Vision 2050 for a new Rwanda will drive economic transformation for all in the tiny, landlocked country where close to 40% live in poverty. Few at home disagree with his plan or the tremendous costs involved in rebranding Rwanda as a destination for foreign investment. But in Kigali, the rising condos and gleaming buildings have made life harder for ordinary Rwandans like Theodore, who are struggling to make ends meet. Terry Wangari, CGTN.
More than half of Zimbabwe's population of 16 million will need food aid in the next 6 months. The country is currently facing a full-blown famine. It's been made even worse since the last growing season was hit by one of the worst droughts in recent years. CGTN's Fare Wakatuya has the details.
About 100 villagers from Fungwe district in Murewa gather to receive monthly cash handouts meant to help them buy food and other provisions during the lean period brought on by the most severe drought in recent years.
I will use this cash to buy food because we didn't harvest anything last season. I will also try to get fertilizer because I need it if we are going to get something from the planting we have done this year.
But the prospects of that aren't encouraging. A prolonged dry spell could ruin what's been put in the ground, compounding the plight of already desperate villagers.
This will be the third year in a row that we're suffering from poor rainfall. Even the short season varies, and the drought-resistant crops that we've been encouraged to grow are failing. So there's a lot of hunger in this region.
Government has been supplementing aid efforts through 50-kilogram maize handouts to about 600,000 households. But that's put a strain on an already cash-strapped treasury.
Our concern now, when we look at secondary data, discussions with the government, we do not know whether this program would be sustainable and whether it would continue at the level that the government has been implementing the food deficit mitigation program. And so for us, we look at the severity of the situation, and coupled with the fact that the forecast for this 2019-2020 agricultural season is also not good. It is almost similar to last year's forecast.
That means some Zimbabweans may have to brace for another barren season and yet again rely on aid to avoid going hungry. Farai Makutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
If you've ever wondered what it's like to dine in complete darkness, a restaurant in Egypt has an unusual dining experience. The concept of dark dining is designed to awaken and enhance the senses, other than sight, of course, with blind waiters navigating between the tables.
Does food taste the same when you can't see it? Well, that's a question this Cairo restaurant aims to answer. The basic principle here is enhancing one's physical senses.
The mobility, how you move on the dark room, how you need to sit as the people in the dark room, how you need to. It's the same like in ordinary restaurants, but we need to do with mobility. Everything is with mobility because you have a different table, you have a number of chairs by table. So yes, it's like another noise, but it's in the dark.
To get food to your tables, the restaurant employs blind waiters. For people like Samira, there is an element of trust involved in the experience as she takes the customer into a world only familiar to those suffering from visual disability.
I would normally need somebody who can see to guide me. The customer should be able to trust me because this is my world. He will be the one who is new to this world, not me.
In November, Abdul Basit Azab opened the restaurant with the help of an international chain that offers dark dining or blind dining experiences. The goal is to raise awareness about blindness as well as turn the tables on society's attitudes towards disability.
I want to transfer the cases of those with disabilities from civil society organizations, from charities that give help for no return, to new forms of help. Just like the Chinese say, teach me how to fish instead of giving me the fish. The same concept is applied here. I want to work this concept in cases of people with disabilities. I want to teach them a profession, to give them opportunities.
As the trend of dining in the dark continues to flourish across the globe, one thing that's certain at this Egyptian restaurant is that it's not just a business. It's rather living a mundane event through the eyes of a visually disabled person. Mohammed Abubakar, CGTN.
We are going to a short break now. Don't go away, lots more to come, including... we look at national dishes that are authentically Tunisian.
Join us in Global Business and see Africa through our eyes.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Counter, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Traditional Tunisian cuisine reflects local agriculture. Its emphasis is on wheat in the form of bread or couscous, olives and olive oil, meat, especially mutton, and vegetables. Couscous, semolina wheat prepared with a stew of meat and vegetables, is the national dish. Most people eat a simple form of it daily, with more elaborate forms for celebrations. CGTN's Adnan Chouachi has more from Tunis.
Tunisia is hosting the Maghreb Couscous Festival. The successful North African event celebrates couscous in all its forms, colors and tastes. The festival has hosted an exciting culinary competition, food tastings, cooking shows, as well as cooking classes.
Cooking the traditional couscous is part of Tunisian culture. Organizing this competition brings people and cultures together.
The delicious couscous is prepared with lamb meat. The increased price of mutton has affected the middle class's purchasing power. Therefore, housewives are making chicken or vegetarian recipes. The special couscous is also deeply rooted in the North African country's cuisine.
Eating couscous with lamb meat is sacred at marriages. This will never change. We often opt for chicken when the budget is limited during weekdays, or no meat at all, especially in winter, when vegetables are available and cheap.
Residents of the coastal regions in Tunisia make the best fish and octopus couscous recipes in the country.
Our couscous is made of wheat and barley. The semolina is homemade and very healthy. Fish and octopus is a specialty on the island of Kerkena.
And like the Tunisian red and spicy couscous, the Moroccan and Algerian dish is either yellow or white. The aim of the Couscous Festival is the integration and exchange between different cultures and traditions in Tunisia, Algeria and Morocco. The event will attract participants from other countries in the next editions. Tunisians view couscous as the symbol of the country's culinary tradition and rich cuisine. Families here love to put couscous on the table in their everyday meals, as well as in official celebrations like marriages and during the festive season. Adnan Chouachi, CGTN, Tunis.
Now let's take a look at some sports news. South Africa claimed a dominant 107 runs victory over England in the first of 4 tests at Centurion. Chasing a record 376 runs for victory, England lost their final 6 wickets for 46 runs thanks to some quality bowling from the home team.